Power Armour is, without a doubt, one of the coolest aspects of the Fallout universe. Up there with Liberty Prime and Deathclaws, I would say, in fact, for the coolest thing overall. But one of the best things about Power Armour, aside from the general badassery, is the huge range of different models, mods, and decorative designs. Which is why, in this video, we're taking a detailed look into all of them for Fallout 4, exploring the lore of each different model, as well as weighing up the pros and cons of each in order to determine which overall is best. This will include both the free and paid Creation Club models, which I checked out so you don't have to, for a more comprehensive and complete list. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Down at the bottom, and this should come as no surprise, it is of course the Raider Power Armour. Serving more as a means to have stronger boss-level enemy raiders, these suits have clearly been stitched together with salvaged parts and scrap metal into a crude, albeit still pretty effective means of protection. It's usually reserved for the leaders of raider groups, or who knows, maybe the raider in question became leader due to owning a suit of salvaged power armor. I'm sure it's a mix of both situations around the Commonwealth. And whilst most suits have 6 different upgrade tiers in Fallout 4, the slapdash, not officially commissioned nature of the Raider armor means we can upgrade it just once with the simple components of aluminium. A fully upgraded and complete Raider suit will offer a not great but not terrible 620 resistance to physical damage, a measly 250 resistance to energy damage, which is very low compared to other models, and I suspect is due to the cobbled steel plating not being at all optimized to insulate from this kind of damage. Though, when it comes to blocking rads, Raider armor is literally as effective as any other suit, with a total score that's the same as all the others of 1050, which will mitigate the effects of all but the very strongest radiation. It's technically more resistant than a hazmat suit, but they do also offer radiation reduction, so not really. As for this suit's durability, its basic tier is diabolically awful, 50 health points apiece and 100 for the torso, but unlike most suits, performing the one upgrade will, to be fair, double that durability, whilst other suits tend to improve in much smaller increments. I guess that's a benefit to simply welding on more metal being the extent of your upgrading methods. And to be fair, the same method doesn't particularly improve damage resistance and does literally nothing to block more energy damage. I mean, the guys doing these are raiders, not engineers or scientists. And with that in mind, there's plenty of mods as well that simply aren't available for the Raider armor. Recon sensors, which mark aimed at enemies, and VATS matrix overlay, which increases our VATS hit chance, are both unavailable, along with the Tesla braces for the arms, and most notably the torso mod of a jetpack. Because, I mean, realistically, that would probably melt this poorly insulated plating. There's also no custom paint jobs, sadly, and thus very limited ways we can make this armor feel like our own, which, again, it's not. It's generally the property of raider bosses, and given we hop in a suit of T-45 in one of the earliest quests, there is very little reason to downgrade to the basic raider armor. Sure, it's the cheapest to repair with just plain steel, but the T-45 doesn't cost much more, and steel is like the second most abundant resource out there after wood. Although, after the next gen updates, with their heavy incinerator mod being rolled into the base game, there is one exclusive thing we can now only get on Raider armor: flame resistance, which will add to a pair of legs during the Crucible quest in order to obtain the heavy incinerator. And whilst being immune to burning is nice, resisting all damage more effectively across the board is certainly nicer, unless you're in a heated area like the Saugus Ironworks. But overall, this is a model more to serve as the pride and joy of a lowly raider than something to be coveted by the likes of us. Next up, of course, is the T-45, one of the earliest power armor designs, which was forced into mass production by the company Westech for the Sino-American War in 2067. Whilst canonically inferior to later models like the T-51, T-45 armor was about the best that the US could produce at scale during the time with the existing technology and manufacturing techniques. Thus, given the pressing nature of the war against China, it was mostly these that wound up on the front lines during the earlier stages of of the war. Mobility was still a big issue with this suit in particular, but it did the most important job of enabling soldiers to utilize heavy weaponry against the Chinese forces. And for the most part, it protected the occupant too, though the demand to release a functioning power armor suit was indeed very, very pressing, to the extent that the design was released with a fatal flaw in the welding just below the chest plates, something exploited by the Ghoul in the Fallout TV show, where we see that the company didn't actually bother to fix the flaw on subsequent models like the T60 even. And it must be a pretty nasty shock to suddenly have your guts blown out, given the full sense of security enabled by being in one of these things. Though this whole plot point, I think, was written more for a cool TV moment and a bit of world building for Westtech, rather than anything we need to worry about in-game. As the war entered its stalemate stage, so many of these had been produced that it actually became more economical, in some sense, to upgrade existing suits rather than scrapping them for new units entirely. Thus, we have models A through F, which canonically would have done more to resolve the initial mobility issues. In Fallout 4 though, this translates entirely to just a boost in resistance stats. The original model we'll hop into during the When Freedom Calls quest is a lowly Model A, with just 500 total damage resistance and 310 resistance to energy. You can always spot one of these low models in the wild, as they'll be notably rustier than their upgraded counterparts, which I think is a cool detail. However, by salvaging aluminium cans, duct tape, and circuit boards, as well as investing in the armorer and science perks early, we can, pretty quickly, upgrade this to a much more powerful Model F, which now boasts 1100 total damage resistance, 910 energy resistance, and about 2.5 times more durability than its Model A version. Plus, being an official suit of power armor, T45 has access to pretty much the whole roster of miscellaneous upgrades, including high-tech ones like the Stealth Boy to turn invisible when crouched, overdrive servos for faster sprinting, and a very useful one for reaching certain places is of course the jetpack, though that one will require maxed out science and armorer perks before you can craft it. In fact, if you're just wanting a suit for something like a jetpack, then the T45 is the easiest to maintain, requiring only steel to repair and a bit of circuitry for the torso, though its lower durability does mean you'll have to perform repairs more often. But it's not simply about base stats and mods for these suits, and now we come to the reason that I had to construct such a damn long line of these things. I think 87 suits in total, to showcase all the various paintworks on each of these models, none of which are simply a case of cool looking custom skins, as each different decor offers various stat boosts. And in this regard, the T45 is actually fairly limited, with the only unique paint job for pure vanilla set at least being the Minutemen design, which boosts our charisma by a total of 1 when all pieces are painted. And it makes sense to turn the original model we get when meeting the Minutemen into this design, and it costs nothing to do so. We can achieve the same charisma boosting effect with the Vault-Tec paint, though that requires actual material to do. We can also boost strength with this bright green military paint, and turning it white with winterized coating will boost our energy resistance, though granted not as much as the prism shielding, though that one doesn't offer an alternate look sadly. Otherwise, if you want to buff agility, seek out the magazine for whichever of these hot rod designs you like the most. The shark paints can be found at the back of the Atom Cat's garage over here. Hot pink is at the top of the Milton parking garage through a crudely constructed maze, whilst my favorite, flames, can simply be obtained from the robotics disposal ground not too far outside Sanctuary. These paintworks look awesome and are well worth picking up, as we can apply them to pretty much any of the Power Armor models. But if it's a wide range of custom paint jobs you're after, then you may find better luck with the T45's successor. But before we get to that, this next set deviates so much from its original model that it really deserves its own entry. The Overboss Armour is pretty much the pinnacle of Raider Power Armor, and it really shows off the extent of just how deadly these crude, scavenged builds can be. It was designed by the Nuka World Raider boss, Coulter, whom we usurp, much to the joy of the rest of the Raider factions, some of whom actually say he spent way too much time working on this thing and not enough securing the future for the Raiders. raiders. No wonder then that its upgraded damage resistance is a massively higher 1,340, with energy a comparatively even more insane 1,220, almost 1,000 more than the standard raider armor. I'm gonna put that one down to the larger external shell and full mesh covering. Coulter, after all, had this thing hooked up to a cable car arena for extra power, and of course needed a way to dissipate that energy without harming himself. The suit is still just as limited in terms of mods and paintwork, and the durability is a not too huge 1070 when upgraded, less than the T45. But the Overboss Armour's biggest strength is in just how easy it is to repair, with each piece, including the torso, requiring just 3 steel to fix up, even cheaper than the standard raider armor. Pair that with the imposingly wide, almost Hulkbuster-esque front plate, and you've got yourself a very cool, low-maintenance set of armor. It's less of a wonder now why Coulter didn't have the time to conquer Nuka World. Now, there's obviously still plenty of better sets out there, but if you're not big on scavenging, then you may find this more to your liking than you'd think. Back to mainstay armor sets though, and next we come of course to the T51. I'm aware that the actual worst to best order is for the most part already laid out, but I hope I'm shining a light on some more power armor nuances for you all. The T51 suit was the next model to be released by Westech, this time in collaboration directly with the United States government, and releasing in June 2076, not too long now before the bombs drop in 2077. According to General Brock, who tested the armor at Fort Strong before its release, the T51 boasted impressive mobility over its predecessor, but initially did suffer from the issue of soldiers falling over after performing bigger jumps. However, with the addition of gyroscopes and shock absorbers in the lower half, the armor was deemed ready and was instrumental to the US's success at the Battle of Anchorage. By this point, the T45s had been in service for about 9 years, and their crude design was becoming increasingly more outdated. The arrival of the canonically far superior T51 model then, with the wearers also wielding huge 5mm miniguns, was a threatening sight indeed. So much so that it frightened many of the Chinese soldiers into surrendering immediately. And sure, other better models were developed either in secret or just afterwards, but the T51 is without a doubt the most iconic power armor set in Fallout canon, and quite possibly real life too, given it debuted in Fallout 1 and was thus the first model to make an appearance. I mean, personally, as somebody younger than Fallout 1, I find the look of the T45 and T60 to be more synonymous with the franchise, though maybe that's just down to their appearances on the covers of Fallout 3 and 4. But comment below which model you envision first when you think of power armor. As for the T51 statistics in Fallout 4, it almost doubles in damage and durability from models A to F, whilst more than doubling in energy resistance. Maxed out, a full set boasts 1,340 resistance to damage, 1,090 resistance to energy, and a durability overall of 1,395. All a markup of about 20% when compared to the Model F T45. Not necessarily the improvement you'd think would turn the tide of a war, but I guess that's the disparity between canon and gameplay utility. In terms of repairs, it still mostly just requires steel, save for the torso that needs a bit of aluminium and circuitry too, and they're all components you'll also need alongside adhesive if you want to upgrade anything. Something I'd always highly recommend once you have everything you need to upgrade to Model F, as the differences in stats are staggering. Not as staggering as other models, I grant you, but one place the T51 arguably wins the competition is in available custom paint jobs. There are so many of these, and about half of them are unique to the T51. After the victory at Anchorage, which came largely thanks to the deployment of T51s, this model became a symbol of American heroism. Thus, several were afterwards repurposed into mascots of sorts for product promotion. And one of the biggest candidates to receive a promotional suit was of course Nuka-Cola, who'd already struck deals with the military in the form of Project Cobalt, which we'll touch more on later. The Nuka T51 suit though was acquired simply to sell cola, and we can find it during the Nuka World DLC in the Nuka-Cola World of Refreshments. You will absolutely want to to grab it because whilst many suit designs grant an additional 1 agility with all pieces equipped, the Nuka T51 suit will grant us 3. And believe it or not, Nuka-Cola weren't the only soda company to use T51 suits in their promotion. The island housing Far Harbor, where Vim Pop Factory is located, once did the same thing. Their basic Vim sets can be salvaged inside, very similar in appearance to Nuka-Cola's, but just increasing strength by 1, whilst their green-tinted Vim Refresh will also increase agility, though this time, again, only by 1. And with such similar marketing campaigns, you can kind of understand why Nuka-Cola had motive to sabotage its rival. But soda wasn't the only company wanting in on this T51 action, and the Contraptions DLC also introduced the Sugar Bomb cereal and Abraxo cleaning solution designs as well, which also increased strength and agility by 1 respectively. But for those wanting to boost perception, the T51 also sports a railroad model, and for those wanting even more charisma, there's always Vault-Tec. But of course, Nuka-Cola's model is by far the biggest boost. 3 more agility means 30 more action points, which means running further, more hits and VATs, and better sneaking. There's no power armor quite like it, save for another one coming up later, and arguably, for anyone running a build based around high agility, the Nuka T51, until you completely finish Nuka World, is definitively the power armor for you. But for everyone else, it's on to the next best thing. Which is of course the T60. This suit was again developed under contract between Westech and the United States government, and was the last model of power armor to be deployed en masse prior to the bombs dropping in 2077. In fact, its debut, if you will, didn't come until after the Battle of Anchorage. Thus, whilst the T51 stole the thunder there, it was the T60, more of a direct successor to the extensively tried and tested T45 that was no doubt easier to produce, which was thus deployed for use everywhere back in Alaska and for domestic peacekeeping on US soil. In fact, when entering Vault 111 at the start of Fallout 4, we can see its suits of T60 guarding the entrance to the vault. Now, do bear in mind, whilst Fallout 4 definitively marks that T60 as superior on all accounts to the T51, the lore is a little more complex than that, thanks to Fallout 76. That game gives the T51 suit better damage resistance, whilst giving the bulkier T60 a better resistance to rats. As I said, the T60 being a direct successor to the T45 no doubt made it easier to mass produce, and thus is why it was more heavily adopted by regular foot soldiers. The slight rush to upgrade still, as well, possibly explains why the fatal flaw, exploited by the Ghoul, was still present in the T60 suit. The T51's fame still made it the better choice no doubt to be used in the likes of Nuka World's marketing campaigns, but for standard troops, T60 was slowly becoming the more common replacements for T45. Of course, when Fallout 3 came out, Bethesda hadn't created the T60 yet, but the cover of Fallout 4 needed a new power armor helmet, so the lore gets a bit more iffy on just where the T60 was and wasn't deployed. The Capital Wasteland Brotherhood, of course, don't have it in Fallout 3, but it seems to be pretty much all they have when arriving at the Commonwealth in Fallout 4. So, Elder Maxon must have secured a huge haul of this stuff from somewhere between the two games, switching it to the Brotherhood's primary armor, which is also the case over in the Mojave Wasteland for the Fallout TV show. In Fallout 4, a fully leveled suit of T60 at Model F will grant you 1,580 damage resistance, 1,245 energy resistance, and a durability across the board of 1,665. All told, a roughly 15% markup from the T51. Not quite as big a jump as the T51 was from the T45, but still pretty decent. Though upgrading and repairing these models will cost us some additional materials, namely the addition of ceramic and rubber for upgrades, as well as plastic to be used in repairs. Not much of an issue if you make a habit of returning to settlements often and running supply lines, but caught randomly out in the world with broken power armor may start to become an issue. These higher tier suits may be more protective overall, but they're also more of a faff like that. Of course, being the armor of choice for the Brotherhood of Steel, you'll be seeing it plenty around the Commonwealth, and joining the Brotherhood, we too can unlock the Brotherhood designs. Different rank emblems as we progress through the questline, all of which grant one additional strength with all pieces painted, though the only pieces that actually show up any difference are the arms and torso, and they're not the most exciting decorations in the world. If you're looking for that, you'll instead want to head to the Atom Cat's garage, where we can purchase the Atom Cat paint design, pretty similar to the Hot Rod Flames, but granting 2 bonuses instead of 1. Firstly, increasing our charisma by 1, but also reducing the action point cost for sprinting by 3%. A very small edge, but making it superior to the Vault-Tec paint, for example, which just increases charisma, and which here I've equipped with the Tesla armor. Unique torso and arm pieces well worth looting from the body of Ivy in the Automatron DLC for their unique design and additional 15% damage with energy weapons with all 3 pieces equipped. Overall, the T60 is the best standard suit of power armor in Fallout 4, but there's plenty of special models, especially after the last update, which are far more rare, but also much more better. Now getting on to some of the Creation Club armors, and their places on the list are being determined by their overall statistics. I'm not suggesting you go and buy these, there's plenty of cool mods you can get for free instead on the Nexus, but given the grey area of canonicity for Creation Club content, that's to say it's probably not canon until proven otherwise, but could be, I decided to cover it, without diving too deep into lore implications. So first up, we have Horse Armor, an example of Bethesda unapologetically repackaging a controversial decision of the past and making yet more money off of it. Horse Armor was originally, of course, the infamous cosmetic DLC released for Oblivion, which to this day is still blamed by some as the herald for the extreme level of cosmetic DLC we see across games nowadays. So, in a self-aware move by Bethesda, they decided to publish in Fallout 4 the Horse Power Armor, costing 250 Creation Club credits or $2.50. Fittingly, the exact same price as the Horse Armor DLC back in 2006. It's found simply at the Wilson Automatoys HQ, having been tuned up by a raider that had an unhealthy obsession with giddy-up Buttercup toys. And looking at the thing, it is actually a raider suit with giddy-up Buttercup parts attached to it. Why then it boasts a higher damage and energy resistance than a suit of T60 is beyond me, but again, loose canonicity. I guess as a paid DLC of sorts, it needed to be something you could viably use throughout the game. And to be fair, it's not a basic upgrade like the standard Raider armor, requiring instead the same string of components as the T60, whilst needing steel, aluminium, and copper to repair. This, again, is not your simple Raider armor. It's also said to have increased movement speed and jump height, so I tested the speed against a suit of standard Raider armor and found it to be only very slightly faster. Jump height, though, is noticeably a fair bit better, which pairs well, given you can also add a jetpack to this suit of Raider armor. Loose canonicity. It also neighs when you climb in, can be painted various colors to improve alternative special stats, but overall, it's really just a self-aware nod to Oblivion, and a cool way, I suppose, of redoing it for Fallout using the giddy-up Buttercup toys. A Creation Club armor with a lot more story and customizability to it then is the Captain Cosmos Space Armor. It's part of a larger Captain Cosmos Creation Club mod, which also features a new dungeon, suit of regular armor, and a gun. And at 700 credits, or $7, I'd expect nothing less. The armor was part of the old Captain Cosmos TV show, and was apparently designed by the US Space Administration for use in the show to try and up public support for the Mars Shot project. Quite why it had to be a fully working suit of militarized power armor and not a prop means I guess they were in a hurry to promote this thing, so handed over actual live working equipment, which also led to the very serious issue of someone being shot when they were handed an actual real working gun too. Again, none of this is necessarily canon. The suits will be lootable at the end of the quest from the set of Captain Cosmos, and in fact there's also a second suit stashed away nearby if you need any spares. And statistics-wise, this suit is practically identical to the T60, and is technically therefore beaten by horse armor, but has far better customization options, which I thus think deserves it a higher spot. This suit includes mods like visible Tesla coils and bracers for the arms, a much more spacey and classic-looking jetpack, and a helmet mod unique to this set, Space Cowboy, which requires the Tier 1 Gunslinger perk to obtain and increases our reload speed. We also get a cool hat. Another thing I do like about this armor though is the sheer number of unique and for that matter good-looking different paint jobs. The white Space Administration paint seen in promotion of course, but also a blue Arcjet design, who were a beneficiary of the Mars Shot project, Repcon Aerospace, the rocket manufacturer, as well as designs for each of the 4 main factions, the Minutemen, Railroad, Brotherhood, and Institute. Then there's the 3 from the Hot Rod magazines, the Enclave, and a shiny chrome one. In fact, I'm glad that this armor leans more into customization rather than straight up outperforming the vanilla suits. And that's about all there is to this one. It's kind of cool to use, but definitely not something you need. The Enclave's Hellfire Armour is once again technically a child of the Creation Club in Fallout 4, but given this set did officially show up in Fallout 3's Broken Steel DLC and was added to Fallout 4 in an official Bethesda release, I think we can assume this piece of content out of everything from the Creation Club is a lot more likely to be canon. In the lore, this suit was very slowly developed from the end of the war onwards by the Enclave, with a prototype being ready as early as 2080, but on mass not then being seen until 2278 during Broken Steel at the Adams Air Force Base. And whilst the Enclave would put a lot of work into developing the advanced XO2 power armor as well, the Hellfire project resulted in a more, well, heat-resistant suit of armor, which is probably why in Fallout 4, Hellfire actually wins when it comes to pure energy resistance. It seems this model was designed purely with insulative qualities in mind to allow specialized troopers to more effectively wield flame-based weaponry like incinerators. Overall, a fully leveled suit of Hellfire armor provides an overall damage resistance of 1,820, joint highest we can achieve with any armor, 1,450 resistance to energy, which, as I said, is just the highest, but where it falls short is in the armor's durability, slightly below the T60 at just 1,655 overall. Mind you, upgrading does just require the same resources as the T60 armor, slightly more of them, but it's still just gathering the same stuff. Repairs, on the other hand, will instead set you back on copper in place of plastic. Now, as far as design goes for the Hellfire, the paint jobs for this set are by far the least colorful, with the white Institute paint only unlocked if completing Nuclear Family being the only real bright one. Other than that, there's paintworks for the rest of the factions, including 3 different Brotherhood designs, as well as slightly different unique tints for explosive and prism shielding. And if you're wanting to lean into the top strength of this suit, that being energy resistance, then prism is a great way to go. A full suit of this will grant you an additional 240 energy resistance. That's like 15% more than not having it. Other than that though, which of these top 3 armors you choose, that's Hellfire and the other 2, largely come down to design preference. Each of them have pros and cons over one another, but largely protect the same. So let's look at just how the other 2 are slightly better. Finally back to pure vanilla armors for Fallout 4, and now we come to the XO1 model. Wildly different from the T-series we've mostly been looking at, the XO1 has a more rounded overall design and an almost bird-like helmet, in my opinion. Developed by the top military leaders known as the Joint Chiefs very shortly before the Great War, the XO1 barely made it past its experimental phase, and whilst the Joint Chiefs succeeded in creating a wildly different than ever before, yet still highly effective power armor, it never made it to mass production before the bombs dropped, hence its utmost rarity across the world. In fact, most of the suits at the onset of the Great War were handed off to various military remnants for further development, and by the time of the later Fallout games, those still include the Brotherhood of Steel, the Enclave of course, and the Institute. The Brotherhood clearly didn't have enough models to roll it out to their soldiers en masse. The Enclave took the design and developed it into the advanced XO2 power armor, we'll come back to that, whilst the Institute Institute did with their Exo-1s the thing that they do best: science. They couldn't build more suits, it seems, but they did manage to develop a coating that somehow increases the cognizance, the intelligence of the wearer. I don't know how, but it looks very cool, and is an actual incentivizing reward to side with the Institute in the end. There's also, again, the 3 hot rod designs. Hot Flames looks particularly awesome here, as well as military and Vault-Tec paints to increase strength and charisma respectively. The best and one-of-a-kind suit of Exo-1 though, and arguably the most rewarding suit of Power Armor in the entire game, that's before Creation Club came and messed with stuff, is the Quantum Exo-1 found in Nuka World. Now, this was sent to the park as part of the Project Cobalt contract, and the unique blue coloring actually comes as a result of the plating using strontium-90, the same isotope which provides the blue color of Nuka-Cola Quantum, and which Project Cobalt was looking to weaponize, almost like building a nuclear bomb out of Coke and Mentos. And the energizing qualities of Nuka-Cola Quantum seem to have carried through into the suit, as same as the T51 Nuka-Cola armor, we gain an additional 3 agility points with this whole thing equipped. Only, of course, the Exo-1 suit is a lot more protective than the T51, and upgrading any of the Exo-1s to Mark 6 will add you 1,820 damage resistance, 1,390 energy, and a very decent overall durability of 1,935, which is just as well, given the aluminium, steel, copper, and circuitry needed to repair. Of course, to get the Quantum suit though is no easy feat. We'll have to collect all 35 star cores in Nuka World's Galactic Zone and beyond to unlock the casing which it's stored in. Luckily, the nearby computer terminal can tell you roughly where they are, but the last one, located at the top of Starport Nuka, can't be recovered until after restoring Nuka World's power, which probably will happen very late into your playthrough unless you're unflinchingly and immediately moral. Overall, really, Exo-1 is the best suit of Power Armor in vanilla Fallout 4, just as it was designed to be, and the placement of unique late-game models only serves to accentuate that endgame rewardiness. But as of the new update, it only makes sense that the Exo-1's successor should, by rights, score marginally higher. The best suit of Power Armor as of 2024 in Fallout 4 on balance then is the Exo-2, part of the Enclave Remnants add-on and indeed obtained from remnants of the Enclave. For this, after all, is where Exo-2 armor comes from. Still technically in its prototype phase with the Enclave on the East Coast, we're able to obtain a suit from the lair of the Enclave defector known as the Black Devil, who, tired of their life working for the villains of Fallout, stole a suit and became a Commonwealth vigilante for a while, before hanging that up too and leaving for pastures unknown. Again, all of this is unvoiced Creation Club content told mostly through terminals, but I think Bethesda's inclusion of it in the base game now does canonize this story a lot more. Once obtaining this suit for ourselves though, we'll then have to deal with the Enclave remnants sent to the Commonwealth to track it down, ironically netting us even more Exo-2s after defeating them as well. And you'll want as much of this stuff as you can get your hands on if you're wanting to display multiple of the many designs. These range from Arctic, desert, and swamp camo, which increase our stealthiness, many different colors which increase various special stats, red will increase our movement speed as well, and yellow our rad resistance. So you may have to choose between the design you like the look of most or the stat increase you'd prefer, with the non-aesthetic prism shielding again a very tempting choice to provide 300 additional total energy resistance this time, 50 for each piece, which actually beats the equivalent prism-shielded Hellfire Armour for the most overall resistant suit of Power Armor, with again 1,820 overall damage resistance, 1,740 energy resistance with prism shielding, but 1,440 without, and a massive durability at Mark 6 of 2,110. In fact, I get that this is a Creation Club adaptation, but the ease with which we can acquire this superior suit compared to, say, the Quantum Exo-1 somewhat cheapens the reward of vanilla suits in my opinion. Why go to all the trouble of acquiring those when you can quite simply obtain this superior equivalent now? And better stats is not all the Exo-2 has to offer. It also has a unique additional mod slot reserved entirely for a Tesla upgrade, which will spew out electrical damage to any enemies who get too close. Yes, the Tesla Exo-2 can dispatch weaker foes simply by standing near them. 1. And there's an even better unique Tesla upgrade for the torso, which adds additional benefits still. Devil's Inferno, while still applying Tesla damage, also increases movement speed by 5% and recharges our action points when we take damage. Plus, it slaps on an additional 2 damage and energy resistance to, just about beat the Exo-1 and Hellfire in that department too. Just be sure to pick up those gold-plated flip lighters, as this upgrade will also need some gold. So, armed with your painted, Tesla-coiled, and possibly jet-packed suit of Exo-2, you, Wanderer, are ready to venture forth in Fallout 4's ultimate suit of Power Armor as of 2024. At least in my opinion, looking at the overall statistics of things. But comment below whether you agree or whether a different suit of Power Armor serves as your go-to for one reason or another. The Nuka T51 and Quantum Exo-1 do after all offer 3 agility points each, so there's a very unique bonus to those, and there's plenty of other unique random bits scattered around the world, which can also give you a one-up for certain different builds. Now, if you're reaching the end of the main storyline or any of the DLCs, then I've also done detailed breakdowns for all the different outcomes of those, and have plenty more Fallout 4 content still to come. Huge thank you to the patrons as always for supporting this channel, enabling me to continue doing what I do, and if you're interested in supporting my lore ranking analysis style videos on YouTube, then you can donate for as little as £1 a month for your name in each video, early access to content, and a special rank in the Discord server where we talk about Fallout, Cyberpunk, and other games. So check those out down below. Thank you for watching, I'm Sam Brown, and I'll see you in the next one.